for my future baby mama. Hope your skin is black as midnight. I'll take you out there under. I can put you in the bins. I can balance out your chakras. Fornication is a sin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my next movie review, where I review the new movie from Marvel, Black Panther, directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Chadwick Boseman. So, Black Panther. I managed to get to see this at the time I'm recording this today, which is the 13th of February. My cinema were previewing it beforehand. So yeah, this is the latest movie since Thor Ragnarok in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is the penultimate movie before Avengers Infinity War, which is coming out very soon in May, I believe. Woohoo! So we got that to look forward to. So, Black Panther. This is a very interesting installment into not only the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for superhero movies. I mean, this is a very diverse, very game-changing film, almost, in a cultural sense of the word, because pretty much 95% of the cast are black, and this movie is set in sort of the the African lands of Wakanda, so it's very culturally interesting in that regard, and very diverse, and I hope that it really does bring in that wide appeal of audiences. I think it's about time we had something like this. So, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough. Black Panther, the story of this film is that it continues after the events of Civil War, well, or some events of Civil War, because as we know, in Civil War, Black Panther did appear there very briefly, along with his father, T'Chaka, I think that's how you say his name, T'Chaka. Sadly, his father died, and now he is able to take the throne for himself in a challenge, and he's now become the rightful king. However, problems emerge when, I can't say his name. I think his name is, Ulysses Claw, played by Andy Serkis, has returned, and he's stolen a artifact from a museum which contains vibranium, which is the metal element that has been used to create Wakanda, and that it's used to support Wakanda. So they go in pursuit of him, and then little do they know, they find out secrets about the past, about which all come back, and then it becomes a real fight for the throne of Wakanda. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about the plot of Black Panther. So, Black Panther, yeah, I really liked it. I think it's about time we had something like this for Marvel. I think, you know, after the past few movies, which became very formulaic, this is a real breath of fresh air, and this will go down as one of the best in the MCU. I really enjoyed it. It's not perfect. I'm not going to call it a masterpiece. It isn't perfect. But it is far better than the past 3 movies, at least. I mean, better than Thor Ragnarok, better than Spider-Man Homecoming, and I would say it's better than Guardians 2, even though I enjoyed Guardians 2. But this is a great film because it takes itself more seriously. Having said that, there are some comedic elements, but I'll get to that. Before I get into my opinions, I have to say, when I went to see this movie today, there was a slight issue to begin with. The screening I was in, me and my friend were watching it, and the aspect ratio was it wasn't fit. It wasn't scaled to fit, and a lot of people were complaining about that. This happened during the trailers, and then when the film started, it was all out there, so you wouldn't see the actors' heads; they would be up there. So they had to basically turn the lights back on, and then restart the movie for us, and then everything was fixed back to normal. So I ended up seeing the first 5 minutes twice, but oh well, it's one of those things. It doesn't really happen very often, and at the end they did give us all free coupons to see for a free 2D screening, so that was nice of them to do that. My cinema are good like that, so it gives me a chance to go and see the movie again. I think the first thing to say is the cast are really good, and they're all very distinctive. I was worried because I don't really know who many of them are, other than a few of them. I know most of them, but it would have been hard to tell, but thankfully all the characters here are fantastic. First of all, Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa / Black Panther. I mean, I didn't really care about him in Civil War because he was basically a cameo. He just appeared in Civil War, and he appeared for some fight scenes. I mean, that was, you know, it was cool to see him, I guess, but it's nice to see his story come to fruition, and he is a very good character. He has a lot of charisma, but unlike Thor Ragnarok, they don't overdo it. You know, they keep his charisma to a stable level, because he is a more serious character, and he's a king. You know, he's not going to be cracking jokes every 2 minutes. And I like the relationship he has with Lupita Nyong'o's character, Nakia, and his sister, Shuri. So that was very nice. And I think the action sequences that he has are great, are very, very entertaining. There is one particular chase scene which happens in, I think is it Tokyo? Somewhere like that. So that was cool. That was cool. Yes, Michael B. Jordan plays Eric Killmonger. He turns out to be more of a bigger character towards the second half of the movie than we initially thought. The story is very well told. I mean, especially the backstory that we get about him is very interesting. I won't go into spoilers, but I'll just say that he turns out to be a very good character towards the latter half of the film, and I think that he the way he kind of comes in and kind of raises the stakes, really. I mean, this is the most dramatic movie that Marvel have had since Civil War. The other movies have just been fun. I think that this is definitely the most dramatic film since Civil War, and rightfully so, because of the nature of the story. It's about royalty, you know, and I really like the story behind that, and there are some genuine moments of tension here between him, and I think Michael B. Jordan's performance is very good. You can see that his character is just lost. He doesn't know where he fits in or where he came from, and originally he teams up with Claw, and then that doesn't work out for reasons, but there we go. Lupita Nyong'o as Nakia. Lupita Nyong'o is a fantastic actress. The first time I saw her in a movie was 12 Years a Slave. I must review that movie. It's a very harrowing film, but she plays her role amazingly. She's also been in Star Wars as Maz Kanata, and she's done a couple of other things, I believe, but it's nice to see her in this. And I think she's a very good character. She's not just a love interest, well, she is, but she's a love interest who's not a damsel in distress. She doesn't get captured all the time. She's the one who actually takes action in the third act. She's the one that says, "No, we've got to overthrow the new king. You know, we've got to take back Wakanda. We've got to save it." You know, so they've finally written a character who is a love interest who isn't so stereotypical and generic. Thank you, Marvel. Thank you. I mean, that is not a sarcastic clap. Thank you so much for doing that, because that really made me smile. That really did. When I was watching it, I was like, thank God, we finally have somebody who isn't a damsel in distress in this movie. Thank fuck for that. Danny Gurira as Oki. I can't actually remember his character very much, but good job nonetheless. Daniel Kaluuya as Wakabi. He's very good. Daniel Kaluuya was in Get Out, the horror movie that came out early last year. I thought he was very good in that, and I liked his performance in this film. Shuri was great. I loved Shuri, his little sister. She's this kind of this techno teen. She's like, say, you know, for example, the James Bond character of Q. She is basically the Q of this movie. She has a lot of gadgets and a lot of technology that she gives to her brother, which is very interesting. But she's also a very well-rounded character. She's very caring as well. She's not just a techno geek. She's all for that. But it was nice that she had a good relationship with her brother, and I was surprised actually how much the theme of technology was incorporated into this movie, because judging by the trailer, you wouldn't think that was to be the case, but I was very surprised that that happened. Regarding the other characters, the other cast members, the only other two I should really mention, I guess Forrest Whitaker has a brief role. Zuri, he does what he can in his role. The other two guys to mention are Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis. Martin Freeman is in the movie as his character from Civil War, Agent Ross. He does a good job, although quite why he needs to be there in the last act is beyond me really. But he's interesting nonetheless. It's nice to have him in there. I mean, he gives a good performance. And Andy Serkis is great as Euselas Claw. Although I would have liked them to have used him a bit more. He did feel a little bit underused. He gets about 3 or 4 scenes in the movie. I think he's quite a fun character. He's quite senile and quite crazy. There's some great scenes with him. To say I was a bit disappointed with his fate, yeah, I suppose I was a bit, but it didn't ruin the movie too much for me. So that's the cast, and I think the movie looks amazing. The visuals are incredible. They've really outdone themselves here, and I just think the colours and the textures, the whole vibrancy of the world is fantastic of Wakanda. It looks superb, and the colours, it just makes it so rich and vivid. But also the technology side of it works well with it too. The fact that it looks very modern and up to date. It's not an old-fashioned African tribe. It's modern. It's up to date. And, the whole, the movie opens with this interesting prologue about the Black Panther and how that was the idea that the Black Panther was the guardian of the world. And I think that was interesting. I think it doesn't feel like the other Marvel movies, and that's why I love it so much, because it doesn't... I mean, there are some typical Marvel isms in this movie, but they're in a very bare minimum. I think the movie has a beating heart, a beating dramatic core, and the story, whilst it's not the most original story out there in the world, it's very good for this movie, and it was what we needed. We needed something a bit more dramatic. We needed something a bit more serious, and I'm very glad to say that this is definitely one of the strongest MCU movies. The action sequences are incredible as well. Particularly, there's 2 of these scenes when there are these 2 challenge scenes where these 2 guys have to fight out for the throne. The first one is a good scene, and then the second one is a very dramatic scene as well. I only have a couple of criticisms with the movie, other than Andy Serkis not being in it very much. I would have liked there to have been less reliance on the comedy, because despite the fact that it is a more serious film, they do make some points of cracking jokes. And to be honest, the comedy in this movie just doesn't work. It's just completely unnecessary. I mean, they went way too far with it in Thor Ragnarok. Even though I moderately enjoyed Thor Ragnarok, it was fun, but it irritated me how comedy-centric it was. I mean, this isn't comedy-centric, but when the comedy's there, it doesn't work. It's just these odd little wisecracks that just feel really out of place. And that's why I say, because the past few Marvel movies have been very formulaic. They've been going for the gag. And in this case, it doesn't work. There are a couple of chuckles that I had, but the ones that don't work really do stick out to me. So I think the comedy should have been less forced, if you know what I mean. Just because it's Marvel doesn't mean that every movie has to be funny. You can have a more serious movie, Marvel, and still have it be fun. This movie is fun. You can watch it for fun. You can watch it for the drama. And the final battle is epic. I think the final climax of this movie is something really to behold. And it makes me want to go and see the movie again, actually. So you can watch this film with very different mindsets. You can watch it just for fun, because it's a fun action movie. You can watch it for a good solid piece of drama, because it has that. And you can watch it for the characters and the world and the visual style of it. And so, for that reason, it's a very good film in itself. And the cast, a lot of black audiences are going to love this film because it's pushing the boundaries. And anybody who slams this on the racist grounds is just, I'm sorry, is a racist. is, is being really unfair, because this movie is trying to change the game, as well as it being part of the MCU, and unlike the other movies, it doesn't rely too heavily on nostalgia. I mean, it has to for certain scenes, like we do cut back to the Civil War scene with T'Challa and his father, but that's necessary to this story, and it's not forced, like the end of Spider-Man Homecoming, when Tony Stark and Pepper had the ring at the end. I was like, for God's sake, can we just not do this? Not everything has to fucking connect. But luckily, this one, you can watch it on its own merits. Well, it does connect to the other movies, and the post-credit scenes are interesting. I didn't quite get the first one, but the second post-credit scene was good. So if you're a Marvel fan, stay to the credits. Or if you, you may have already read up on them. There's only 2, so don't worry. It's not like Guardians, where there's like 5. But, yeah, and also the only other thing to say is the music. The music is really, really good. There's a very sort of tribal feel with this. Sort of the African-inspired soundtrack really, really helps, immerse you. This is a very immersive film. It helps deviate this movie from a lot of the other Marvel movies, which is good. Is it the best Marvel movie? I don't know. Probably not, but it is up there as one of the best. And before Infinity War comes out, I am going to do my Marvel movies ranking from all the movies from Iron Man all the way to Black Panther. So in the last 10 years of Marvel, and then when I do my Infinity War review, I'll see if I can slot it into the ranking somewhere. I'm not going to review, like, re-rank the series every time a new movie comes out, because it's like 3 movies that come out a year. So, I mean, I may update the ranking at the end of the year with the new movies, but we'll see how that works out. But yes, for now, that's pretty much my review of Black Panther. I'm going to score this movie a 9 out of 10. So yeah, I wasn't sure whether to give it an 8 or a 9, but I think, you know what, because of what it had to do, and it had a lot of pressure, and I think it lived up to that pressure, so I score it a 9. So yes, regarding the other reviews, I still have a few Marvel movies left to review. I'm trying to fill in the gaps for the Marvel movies that I haven't done. I've got the Iron Man trilogy to do, as well as Infinity War when that comes out. And I think Ant-Man is the other one I haven't done. But Ant-Man and the Wasp is coming out, so that will be a good time to re-review. Well, review Ant-Man. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And please check out Black Panther. It's really, really good. I might consider going to see it again. So there we go. So until then, that is that. We are now done. We are now on to the grand Infinity War, which has everybody in it, including Black Panther. Oh, that is going to be an epic film. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. People will be queuing at the doors for that. They really will. But, yes, so, until my review of Infinity War, stay tuned for the other reviews. Stay tuned for the ranking. I'm not sure. I'll probably do the ranking after I finish the other MCU reviews. So, stay tuned, folks. That's all for now. Thank you all for watching. And as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.